So Oregon urban growth boundary and land values main question. How does Oregon's urban growth boundary affect my land's value, and am I sitting on a UGB premium? Okay, so if you own bare land or EFU farmland within a few miles of any Oregon city, say Salem or Eugene or Corvallis, Bend, or any growing community, you may be sitting on something most landowners don't fully understand. It's called the UGB premium, and it can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So today I'm going to explain exactly what it is, how it works, and how to find out if your land has it. I'm Al Cronemiller, Oregon Land Specialist here at MORE Realty in Salem. I spent 5 years in the City of Salem Survey Department, and I grew up in a land surveying family, so I understand Oregon urban planning system pretty good. What is the urban growth boundary? So Oregon urban growth boundary is a hard line drawn around an Oregon city that separates urban buildable land from rural agricultural and timberland outside of it. So land use inside the urban growth boundary can be developed for residential, commercial, or industrial use, with proper permitting. Land outside, even right across the fence from a subdivision, cannot be developed for urban uses. It must remain in agriculture or timber production. However, this line is not permanent. Oregon cities petition the Land Conservation Development Commission to expand their urban growth boundaries as they grow. This usually occurs when the percentage of infill lots in the city gets to a certain level. When a UBG expands and includes previous rural land, the land transitions from agricultural value to urban land value. So the price difference can be dramatic without doing a thing. What's a premium? EFU farmland in the Willamette Valley generally sells for about $8,000 to $18,000 per acre, depending. Residential land inside the urban growth boundary can sell for $200,000 to $400,000 per acre or more. So land position for potential urban growth boundary inclusion captures a premium above agricultural value today, before expansion is even confirmed. So how to know if your land has it? 5 things to check. 1, so how far is your parcel from the nearest urban growth boundary? Is it under a mile? That's potentially significant. So 2, what direction is the city growing? Check the comprehensive plan. This will show you where the main trunk lines are going. This is a common place for expansion. So 3, is the urban infrastructure, that's what I talked about, the roads, the water, the sewer, moving toward your parcel? Because infrastructure, like I said, is the leading indicator of UBG expansion. So 4, has the city formally discussed a UGB addendum that includes your area? This is public record. So 5, what are comparable parcels nearby selling for? If adjacent ground has sold above agricultural value, buyers are already pricing in the premium. So if you own land within several miles of any Oregon city, call me before you list it. I'll tell you honestly whether your parcel has a UGB premium and whether timing your sale around the planning process could make a material difference. Just give me a call. My number is 503-949-5025. I'm Al Cronemiller, Oregon's land specialist at MORE Realty in Salem. Give me a call. I always answer.